Let's now design an electric piano sound. Now we can get pretty close to a real EP sound by just getting into the wavetable section here and selecting waveform number 57, which is called dark. Just by itself, it sounds pretty close to an EP. But let's start with this and make it even better. Firstly, I'm going to bring down the sustain on the amp envelope. Push up the decay. And give it a little bit of a release as well. Let's also make it respond to velocity. Cool. Now let's add one more oscillator. I'll turn on number 2. Set it to a sine wave. But the pitch turned all the way up. This will be 3 octaves above. So now we're getting a bit of that bell of the EP. We'll make the pitch of the sine wave respond to the keyboard scaling. So by default it sounds like this, which is the natural keyboard scaling. But with some additional key scaling, it gets all dissonant. Let's try a negative amount. So when the keys go up, the pitch of the sine wave moves up as well. The fact that it's not in tune makes it sound more like the striking of the reed with the hammer, and that adds a little bit more of realism to the sound. Now we don't want the sound to last for the entire length of the amp envelope, so let's choose a target of oscillator 2 level here, and a source as maybe envelope 1. So now the sine wave will only last as long as the decay amount on this envelope 1. Let's bring up the amount. That sounds pretty cool. Let's control this modulation via velocity, so there's more control over the attack of the sound while performing. Nice, but let's take the sound a step further by setting up some filter cutoff modulation as well. I'll set the cutoff at about the halfway mark. And turn on fat. So choose cutoff 2 here. And envelope 2 as the source. No sustain. Very little release, and decay up. The decay could be faster. I think this really helps get us close to that EP sound. We're getting that nice brightness via the dissonant sine wave, and of course the dark one wavetable gives us the core of the sound. I suppose turning on the phaser would be appropriate for this sound. I'll push up the intensity and speed as well. I think I'm also going to bring up this sine level, so we get a little bit more of the fundamental frequency in there as well. Cool. Now another feature that's quite common on most EP sounds is the auto pan. So let's set that up in the modulation router. LFO1 should work well for this. Maybe we can set the veer to mod wheel so we can control the auto pan amount. So that's with the mod wheel all the way up. And when I bring down the mod wheel, we don't get any panning. I think that's a nice control to have. Cool. So that's our EP sound.